All right. Welcome back to Odys Talks, everyone. This is episode 61. Holy moly, that's been that's been quite a ride. And today, as you can see, I'm joined by three amazing gentlemen. It's Neil Patel, Kasra Dash, and James Dooley. I don't believe either of them needs an introduction, but they will introduce themselves either way. Naturally, the show is brought to you by Odys Global, your one-stop marketplace for age domains and websites, and different stuff as well. Yeah, I'm your host, Vlad the Lad. So, guys, why don't you go and introduce yourselves? Neil, since this is your first time on the show, and by the way, once again, thanks for joining. Why don't you go first?
Sure. My name is Neil Patel. I'm the co-founder of NP Digital. I am we're a global ad agency that is in 19 or 20 countries, and we just help companies get more traffic.
Cool. All right. James?
Hi, James Dooley. Do quite a lot of lead generation and leveraging digital marketing assets to grow businesses.
That was really concise.
Yeah.
I was thinking. I was thinking you might go off on a tangent there, but you didn't. My name is Kasra Dash. I am a SEO consultant, and I also invest in businesses as well. So the goal is to actually grow their traffic and then actually invest in the actual business.
Awesome. Well, then let's kick things off.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Yeah, from our offices or our homes, whatever. Not the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Yeah. All right. So most of the times we're talking about SEO and affiliate marketing here. Sometimes about branding, brand visibility in the SERPs and stuff like that. But today I was thinking for today's episode, I was really thinking, what should we talk about to make it more interesting, to make it something special, considering all the different things all three of you are doing. So I thought that, well, it would be really nice to talk about personalization versus SEO, not like against or instead, but like what works best in the long run. Because each one of you guys have built and continue building your personal brands, your known faces and names in the communities. Some communities are bigger, some are smaller, but I mean, people know you, know about you, know what you're doing, know what you built and are building. So let's say my first question would be probably, how do you strike the right balance between creating personalized user experiences and content and maintaining strong SEO performance at the same time?
Does anyone want to start, or do you want me to start?
You
Go
can
for
start.
it.
Let's go on.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, personal branding, I think, is becoming more and more important with the growth of AI. I feel like people want to know who's behind the websites. I also think there's so many other benefits, not just from SEO, but from staffing and recruitment. If people know who you are and what you're doing, it makes it easier to onboard new staff that are quite high level. I think it's good for, which I didn't know back then many years ago, it actually helps the multiplier when you're selling a site. If they know who's behind the website, it helps quite a lot on that. So I think personal branding is huge. I think it's something that everyone should be investing in. I think a lot of people kind of try to hide behind websites. And I think there's a lot of websites out there. What you need to be doing is adding, whether it's for EEAT SEO signals or whether it's for investment opportunities or for many other reasons, personal branding, I think, is becoming more and more important.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that you can also add to that is if you've got like a personal brand, let's say in the SEO space or the PPC space, and you go and buy like a SaaS that's already within that space, and let's say you've got a mailing list of 20,000, 50,000 people, you can very easily ping out your new tool and you can give people a free demo or whatever, and you can increase like the MRR of that SaaS. So it's always good building out your personal brand. There was also an article that I was reading recently saying that BlackRock has done like a I don't know how they've done this audit, but basically they had audited saying that a personal brand is going to be like 100x more valuable in the next 5 years, based off of like their numbers and stuff.
Yeah, so I found something different on the personal branding end. And Vlad, I don't know if you're asking about personal branding or personalizing the content. I could have misheard.
Both. It's
Both.
like both sides of one, two sides of one coin.
Yeah, and I'll get to the personal branding in a bit, but to go back to the personalized content, we found that when you personalize the content to some extent, just enough, if someone wants, if they have a dog and you show them cat stuff, it's not going to work. But, personalizing it enough where they're interested is great. But when you personalize it so much where it's perfect for them, we actually don't see conversions go up that much or traffic go up that much. And as for the personal branding side, we've actually encountered the opposite. So one of the lawyers I used did the Kylie Cosmetics transaction, which was for Kylie Jenner. And her personal brand really helped her grow the business, and it did well on the exit. Now, it's a huge company. It was very successful, but it's no Estee Lauder and L'Oreal. Does that mean Kylie Jenner did a bad job on her personal brand? No, she did a much better job than I did of growing my brand. So I'm not trying to throw any shade on it, but people don't value the personal brands as highly when they're doing a transaction. At scale, most buyers are worried that when the personal brand leaves, the business crumbles. So they actually want to discount it, or they're more hesitant to buy it, or they don't want to buy all of it because they're worried that if that person goes away, the business is not going to live long. And I'll give you a great example of this. Someone just approached me right now, like, hey, Emma Chamberlain has a coffee company. I was like, okay. And they're like, through her brand, the coffee company generates, I don't know how many, it's 8 figures in revenue. And they're like, yeah, do you know anyone who wants to buy? She just wants to exit completely. And she wants a good premium. I'm like, no one's going to pay this. The moment you buy it, is she going to promote it anymore? They're like, no. I'm like, well, then it's going to go to zero. They may end up paying 1 time's profit for the business, if that. Like, buyers don't want to buy it.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying with regards to that. So obviously behind bigger brands, there shouldn't be one single focus on who it is. You need to try and make certain you're setting people, especially if you are gearing up for sale, you need to try and make certain that you completely take yourself away from the business and make certain that you've got directors or you've got multiple authors or whatever it is that you're looking to sell, that it runs without you being inside of the business.
Yep.
And guys, can like personalization and SEO coexist and not undermine one another? Can you find the golden ratio here?
Yeah, definitely. I think any business should be doing all forms of marketing, not just SEO. So, for example, if you can get PPC working, definitely do it. If you can get Facebook ads, maybe even retargeting on your SEO or PPC traffic, definitely do it. Like SEO is just like one piece of the puzzle, let's say. There's various forms of marketing. Like, for example, you look at some big guys in the PPC space. They're trying to market themselves using Facebook ads. They're doing guides on YouTube. They're doing shorts on TikTok. They're literally seen everywhere.
Yeah, what's funny is like I talked to so many people who are doing tons of social content. Whether you have like the Cody Sanchez's or the Alex Ramos's or the Gary V's. The interesting part is when you look at the view count versus how much revenue they're generating from it, a lot of them are getting tons of views. It's not driving tons of qualified revenue. And when I say qualified revenue, you can make money selling ebooks or products like that. But if you want to talk about reoccurring revenue for some sort of business offering, it usually just doesn't do that well.
One thing that Alex Hormozy said, I don't know if you've been keeping up with him, like he kind of went really broad and he was getting like millions of views, and then he's kind of scaled back. He's getting less views, but it's very targeted for like business owners and people that are looking for capital and stuff like that. And he says like For example, if one of us was to do like a video on how to do internal linking for a Shopify store, for example, that might only get, let's say, a couple hundred views, but the people that are watching that are more inclined to potentially hire you out for consultancy or hire your actual SEO agency out. So views is definitely a vanity metric.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's where a lot of the bigger brands now seem to be doing the umbrella approach, where they've got sub brands in there, and they can go quite broad, but then obviously they can make tailored specific brands just for one thing. Like they just do technical SEO, they just do link building, they just do PPC, they just do Facebook ads. And then some of them agencies are so much easier to sell because you can segment them off. But yeah, I mean, you can go. There's certain businesses I have that I try and go as broad as I can, and there's other ones that I go very, very specific. And when I go broad, it's almost like you're going fishing and casting the net as wide as you can. And the stuff, the fish you don't want to catch, you throw back in. The whales that you want to keep, you keep hold of.
Totally. And then when you specialize, it's easier to grow within that sector. The customers tend to be happier. You'll have lower churn. And I do agree. You'll get very specific buyers who are like, wow, you've dominated this niche, whether it's legal or medical or D2C. And they're like, hey, I'm interested in buying this company.
Yeah, for sure. Like you was talking now about one or two niches. Like we do quite a bit of lead generation. And what we start to find, I always call them shouldering niches, but you can enter in one market and it kind of cross-references to another market. So if you're doing, let's say, architecture, well, you can go and do the designs for an extension of a school or a university, but then those designs need building. So if you know that school is having an extension of a classroom, that then could feed into a builder or a construction company. So you can go, like you said, you can go quite specific of architects, but then it can end up cross-selling into different industries. Before you know it, you can be in many different industries. And from there, then that one company could have PPC, could have Facebook ads, could have SEO, could have traditional marketing, whether it's TV ads, radio ads, billboard ads. Obviously, it's endless then to see what their budgets are and how big they want to grow and what their target audience is.
Yeah, speaking of like of the corporate versus personal brand aspect, let's say, it's a lot easier to gain trust when you're sticking your face out to the audiences, right? Personalizing whatever you do online in this way, in these terms. But let's say there's a company, corporate brand that wants to scale things up, add services, things like that. It takes a lot more time to go through the same stages than a personal brand would. How would you tackle this particular aspect of growing a brand?
Neil, I've got a slight variation of a question to what you're saying on that. If you were to go and invest in a new business, how do you determine whether you want to put your name to that brand from a personalization point of view, or you don't want to put your name to the brand? Do you know what I mean? So like you're acquiring quite a lot of different, let's say, SaaS products or businesses. How do you determine yourself whether you want to put the name to it or not?
We look at, do we have that capability? So do we have that business already? And what I mean by that is if we offer SEO services in America and someone else offers SEO services in America, not really much of a differentiator. But if we don't offer SEO services in China and we get a lot of demand from our customers here requesting that, then that makes sense, because even though we offer that service, we don't offer it within that region. 2, we look for something that's growing. If they're growing and continually growing, that's usually a good business. Something that's flat or declining, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. 3, we look for churn. The lower the churn, the more sticky a business is, the more likely customers are actually happy. Not always, hand in hand, but usually if customers are staying for a long time, they're genuinely happy. And 4, we look for the old private equity saying 1 + 1 = 3. If they do $1 million in revenue and we do $1 million, to keep the math simple, we're hoping $1 million + $1 million = $3 million, not $2 million, because we can sell all our customers on their services or their customers on our services. A great example of this is we bought a company called Rebel House. And Rebel House works with like Novartis, the pharmaceutical, Marriott, and the list goes on and on of large corporate brands that they work with, Mitsubishi, etc. So then we take their customers and we sell them on our services, right? Because they only do creative. We then take our customers that, you know, we don't offer really creative like they did, and we sell our customers on creative. And that creates more revenue combined synergistically, creates happier customers, stickier customers because they're paying you for more things. So when the math works out from that perspective, we're willing to put our name on it or pay up for it or whatever you may want to call it.
When would you ever not put your name on it? If you get a great opportunity, the numbers make sense, but then you're thinking, I don't want to put my personal name to it. Have you ever done that?
I'll give you a great example. Talked to a business yesterday. They have some debt on the books. Financially, it's a good business. They've been around for a while. They're in the marketing space. They do something we don't offer. And they have some really cool software. We think the business will flourish. They have terrible Glassdoor ratings, things of, you know, harassment, things of doing things that are unprofessional. So we won't touch that with a, you know, 10-foot pole. We just stay away as much as possible. And we don't care how lucrative the deal may be from how much money we can make. We can set up a really good deal where we don't pay much up front. We don't care. We rather pay more up front for a business that's clean, that doesn't have reputational issues, than something that can potentially cause us to go backwards because we're taking on their terrible reputation.
So you wouldn't buy that at all if the software was great? Would you not just take the software, not like leave the business and then keep the software and just rebrand it?
We don't want any reputational ding on our end. We don't care if even they offered it for free. We just won't take it.
Yeah.
And they make millions.
Guys,
we still won't touch it.
Yeah.
What about you guys? Same questions.
To be fair, it's similar answers. Like if something kind of works hand in hand with what I'm doing at present. So obviously, I always say I'm always looking at the profit and loss sheet, and I'm always looking at the expense sheet and whatever I'm spending a lot of money on. At some point, I kind of want to say I need to acquire that business of what my biggest expense is. So if it was link building, or I'm paying a lot of money to a Facebook ads agency, not only is it to bring down the cost of the expenses, so I'm getting a cost price as opposed to cost price plus 40%, I also then can control the quality. So I think that's the biggest part of it, where if you're using freelancers and you're demanding, like you almost become a really painful customer because you might only be spending 50,000 a month with them and you're demanding all these additional quality checks. Sometimes if you come in as being an angel investor in the company, or you just acquire the company, at that point, then you can then start to set those boundaries higher to say, I need this quality control to be better.
Yeah, I think one thing that Neil touched on is how sticky can you actually make the client. So, for example, myself and James, we've obviously co-own Searcheroo, and we invested into a content writing tool. Now, Searcheroo obviously provides the links. Autoblogging does the actual the content. So if you've got a client buying links and also purchasing content from you every single month, they're very, very sticky. Whereas if you're just providing link building, or if you're just providing the content, like even ChatGPT can throw out a half decent article now. So yeah, just trying to make somebody as sticky as possible, and trying to like keep that person on for as long as possible, like asking them what their pain points are. Because if you've got like let's say 30 clients, let's say, and all 30 of them have the exact same issue. Let's say their issue is they don't know how to track their keywords. That could give you a potential opportunity for you to be like, right, I need to go out there and acquire a keyword tracking tool. So doing certain stuff like that, asking your actual pre-existing customer base what they're actually struggling with, anything like that can help.
Neil, I've got another question for you. I'm intrigued with some of your investment choices of what you do and stuff. At what point, so let's say Kasra was touching on a keyword tool there, and obviously you've got a bank of a lot of amazing staff and a lot of amazing workers. At what point do you decide whether you acquire and do growth by acquisition, or bolt-on acquisition method. So just going, do you know what? I'm just going to buy this rank tracker or whatever, as opposed to I'm going to build this from scratch and I'm going to build it up. So one, how do you determine whether you buy or whether you build from new?
We base it on strengths. So we don't do as well building versus buying. We're really good at adding in more traffic and leads, right? Because in our business, it's just really leads what it comes down to, and then selling those leads. So what we try to do is buy someone who already has traction and then just tuck them in and then grow it. We found that to be easier than build. And we've built a lot, whether it's tools from the ground up, and they haven't done as well versus when we buy. And we've also built, like when we expanded to a lot of other countries, whether it's UK or Spain or Italy or Germany or, India or Brazil, etc. Almost all those regions we created from scratch, and it's working out. But it would have been easier for us, and we learned this one the hard way, to just go and buy something that has 5-10 million in revenue, whatever, call it 20% in profit, and then just grow it from there than building it from scratch. And funny enough, you can say it's more expensive to buy, but if something is spitting off profit, you can use the profit to pay off the debt. If you're using leverage to buy these corporations, and the math still ends up becoming, for us, where it's cheaper to buy than build in-house.
Yeah, I think the big one on that as well, where you touched upon a few times, is time, leveraging time as well. That's the biggest part. So I'm happy with wasting money. I'm not happy with wasting time. And I think that's a big factor. So we're the same on that as well with regards to leverage, and growth by acquisitions a much better way. Plus, they've already been through the first few years you go through a lot of pain points, and you've already been through those pain points with customers. Maybe there was leaving. Why was the leaving? They've got that feedback. And then, like you said, you can just plug in your traffic source and happy days.
One other thing just to add to that as well is, like, it could take you, like, let's say 6 months to code this, I don't know, keyword research tool. And it could also probably take you another 6 months to market it. Whereas if you calculate that, let's say 12-month period, how much advertising could you have done? How much, for the pre-existing one that you actually purchased? Like you could have potentially doubled the MRR of that SaaS product, or of that actual agency or whatever you've purchased by the time you've actually ended up coding it. So yeah, it definitely makes sense.
I totally agree. The only issue that we end up running into is when we buy a company, it takes us around 6 months to buy a company. You have to get the financials, audit the financials, do the diligence. That's the only bad part. And then you have all these legal expenses, whether the deal goes through or not. But on a side note, I know you guys also invest in companies. When you're doing work for someone, or you're helping them grow or generate more leads or traffic, how do you decide which companies to invest in and which ones not to, right? Because if you don't know the founders as well, or you're just getting to know them, I'm assuming it could work out great, or there could be cultural issues, and it doesn't work out just because personalities clash or whatnot. So how do you guys decide and which ones to invest into, and how do you guys vet them?
So I'd say that's a great question, and I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think for myself, like this morning, I've gone and met someone at my local garden centre, and I'm looking to acquire 50% of the business. And I think I can work with him, but I've never worked with him before. Well, he's been a client for 3 years that we do lead generation for. We've grown him from 2 vans to like 12 vans on the road. He has got aspirations to grow it further, but he needs to put a lot more investment into the company. He seems like a great guy, but I've never worked with him day to day. So I'm going to assign a team to go in with it. I am going to do the investment, but sometimes you can shoot for the stars, if you get what I mean. And like, you've just got to go with what you think is a sound. He owns 100% of the business. He's had a successful business. It's a family run business. He's always paid his bills for the last few years. He's never missed. And he was talking the right game. His numbers stack up. We had the accounts being audited. And sometimes it's one of them that if they become an absolute pain, you almost then got to then quickly go your separate way. It's almost like people say, hire fast and fire fast. It's the same with investment as well. Like as long as you're honest all the way through. Like I always shoot from my heart. I always go honest, trust, and integrity. I've got a couple of very good financial advisors, and they'll tell me on the numbers whether the numbers stack up and whether it's worth it or not. And not all investments work out as what you thought they would, but then there's others that work out 10 times better. And in general, when you look at it holistically over the whole year, I think are you going in the right direction? Yes, you are. Well, you're making the right choices. Yes, one or two might go by the wayside, but for every one that goes bad, there might be 5 that goes good. That's kind of my attitude to it. But Kasra,
I think personal videos help out a lot. Like we've got like a bank of, let's say, 60 videos now, probably. And then whenever we are looking to acquire a business together, or if it's just James by himself and stuff, like that business owner actually goes and watches and sees what James is actually about. So I think that definitely helps. One thing that's probably a little bit different to how you're just acquiring stuff is that like the local, like the brick and mortar style businesses that we're actually acquiring is they've kind of like worked with us for like maybe as a minimum probably like 16 months. So they've kind of like the lead gen is just like it's kind of the break-even point, but then when we actually acquire, that's when it actually starts to get fun, and then we're actually building out more websites. So that's one thing that also helps. And then just like for example, I remember probably about 2-3 years ago, I was reaching out to a lot of accountants in the UK because I wanted to get into accountancy, and there's 3 types of accountants that I very quickly figured out. One type is like they're old, they want to retire, they don't care about scaling their business. So those guys or those women, they're kind of like out the door. Then you've got like the middle ground, and the middle ground, they're kind of like well established, again, pretty much not looking for much growth. Like they might have like 15, 25 advisors. They've got a lot of people on the actual board. So again, those guys not interested. And then you've got the third type, and the third type is actually the ones that used to work for the established accountancy firms, and they kind of want to go out and do it themselves. So very quickly, I was able to find like 4 or 5 accountants, and I'm like, right, these are the type of people that I need to be working with. And at some point, one of these people, because they are looking for more growth, they don't mind growing into a bigger office, or potentially getting a lease on a new office. These are the guys that I'm actually going to be able to invest into their business at some point. It might not be in the next 4 months. It might not be in the next 12 months, but let's say year 2, they're interested to scale that office from, let's say, 20 staff to 60 staff.
I think on that as well, Neil, with regards to the accountants kind of example, a big one why we wanted to get into accountancy was because they might have 250 clients on their books, and they're doing the numbers. They're doing the profit and loss every year. So they're coming to us to tell us, look, this company might be looking for investment from a VC. And then they might say, look, we can tell them, instead of going down a VC route, you might want to go down an angel investment route. And you're going to have an entrepreneur that's going to come in and leverage helping you holistically on all digital marketing growth. So that could be to do with, instead of just doing lead generation, we turn it into a sales generation. So we might have 2 or 3 estimators or sales staff that are just initially dealing with the inquiries as there's an influx of more inquiries. And then we're just feeding the best and hotkeying the best inquiries coming through, which then allows them to grow. Because some of the smaller, whether they're a mortgage broker or an accountant or whatever, they don't want to deal with 100 leads a day. But that's what you can generate. But they want to deal with 10 quality leads that fits their parameters. But for us, unless we turn it into a sales generation, it's hard. You can't really segment it that much. Someone comes through saying they don't put the figure in. I know certain contact forms you can have it, but like they're coming saying, I want a mortgage of a house. And then you don't know whether they've got the money, they've not got the money. So it's difficult at times. But with regards to investment, sometimes we go off on a whim and see what works and what doesn't. But Neil, you're on another level to us of like what type of businesses you're looking to acquire. Ours are all, generally speaking, doing 1 to 5 million in revenue normally, generally speaking. And we're going to then try and treble the business and stuff like that, where you're enterprise level dealing with much higher end type brands and stuff like that, which we don't really normally deal with.
No, but they're all good opportunities, right? Especially a lot of these brick and mortar businesses. Cash flow is cash flow, and the multiples on some of these businesses are much lower. So the profitability when you buy them and the returns are much higher. It's just like the question is, can you do 10 of them, 20 of them, right? It adds up.
Exactly that. So, I mean, generally speaking, a lot of the investments we do within 12 months, we've got our full investment back within 12 months. So, like, normally in SaaS, you're looking, I don't know, it could be anything from 5 to 12 years. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, a lot of these bricks and mortars, and that, to be fair, we've had some where it's been 7 or 8 months and we've had it back because we've literally just gone and plugged in our sales team. We've gone and expanded their own personal branding and stuff like that, because it's fine as generating leads for companies, but if their branding online is not good enough, that's the first thing we're looking at. How can we start to get this amazing managing director who's got all these accreditations? Let's go and shout and scream from him from the rooftop. So now, like Vlad, you're talking about personalization and personal branding. I don't just mean for me or for Neil or for Kasra. Like, I want to elevate who works in that business that is an amazing installer and there's nothing of them online. But let's go and shout and scream. Let's get everything they have offline and let's put it online. Like, the amount of companies we go and speak to, and they've won so many awards. The last 10 years, they've won the best plumber in the UK. And you're like, they don't even mention it online. And I'm like, go and get these awards. Go and get press releases. Go and shout and scream about it from the rooftops on social media. Go and get some videos. Get the images of you holding the trophy and stuff like that, and they just don't get it. And
you look at their website, and like a lot of the times, it looks like the business was like set up like 6 months ago, but in reality, like the business is actually older than me. I'm like, something's not adding up here.
That's crazy, because if you probably fix some of those things, people are like, oh, I trust this company now. It's not 6 months old. You're like, no, it's 30 plus years old. It's never been 6 months old. That's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, and probably some of these businesses have so many reviews and testimonials, and they're like, yeah, we don't put any on our website. Yeah, you know, they probably make basic mistakes.
We had some where they had like we got a folder sent through on Dropbox, and there was like 117 PDFs of all these schools that said how amazing that there was, and it was the PDF document. And I'm like, can we not get these online? Can you not get the testimonials and the case studies of these? They're like, oh, I've got them here. We just send them on an email to the client. I'm just like, no, you're not getting it. Like, you need this online now.
In some cases, like even just like having the testimonials and stuff, it's not even going to improve your SEO. It might just improve the conversion rate. You might be getting like 100 visits a month to your website, but only getting free inquiries just by having more testimonials, some more videos. Those free inquiries might go to, I don't know, 15, 20. You've literally doubled that revenue or tripled that revenue overnight just by uploading a couple pictures.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's another great way of getting free, actual, genuine outreach backlinks. So you go and basically do a nice video and say how amazing that head teacher was at the school. You then go and send them through the video, and then what do? They go and blog about it on their school, put the video on, and then link back to you as being the installer or the construction company or the window fitting company or the solar panel company, whatever you did for the school. They're now linking to you saying these did an amazing job of installing solar panels on our roof, and they've got the video of it and they've got the photos of it. They share it on the Twitter, and then what goes and happens? Then all the other local schools that are following them saying, "Oh, well, we want a price for that." So it's just general business marketing, but some of these just don't get it, like, and that's where
what you typically find with a lot of the brick and mortar style businesses is that they are really good at their actual service that they're providing, but they are horrible at marketing. Like terrible. Like they've uploaded a photo or a video and it's like in portrait mode, or they've got like free reviews, and one of them's like they're I don't know, their dad. So yeah, just literally just by giving them like a fractional CMO and giving them like a checklist of stuff, like go and focus on these 10 things for the next 2 months and then come back to me. That definitely helps.
Do you tend to focus on businesses within a specific region? I don't know where you guys are based, but I'm assuming maybe Europe based on your accents.
I generally only deal with the UK. Anything outside the UK, I pass on to like other business partners and stuff like that. There's so many different industries. There's over 1,000 different industries in the UK that we can get into. If you think of it, I always say everything flows downstream from lead generation. So generally speaking, we do the lead generation for it could be for any business that there is, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, whatever it is. We kind of start with lead generation, and as it starts to grow from there, we get into it. But it could be any industry that we want, because I don't get involved in the processes and systems of how they put teeth implants in. Do you know what I mean? I just generate them the leads, and I'm just looking at the profit and loss of the business and generating leads and grow that side and look at the branding of it. And then it doesn't really matter what the service that they do. It's just, I'm just going to plug and play, so to speak. And that's kind of how I normally do it. But it's just generally UK is where we work on stuff.
Cool.
What on a few questions for you, Neil. Right, back onto the thing of personalisation. Right, so we've got personal branding. Do you ever go to town of, if you've acquired a business, do you ever go, right, okay, this person's going to be the managing director, or this person's going to be the main salesperson? Do you ever do everything you can to promote that person online and get them a knowledge panel and try to improve and do like digital PR for the salesperson to be able to sell things better? Or like, what's your thoughts on personal branding for staff?
Yeah, so we encourage staff to build their brands and we'll help promote. But when we're buying, it's a little bit different. We usually find the person who can grow a business from 0 to like 10 million is not the person who can grow it from 10 to 100. So typically when we buy, we already have the managing director within that region who knows how to grow from 10 to 100. And we plug them into the business we're buying and we fix all the issues that they have. Similar to what you guys are doing, but instead of images or PDFs or website stuff, a lot of ours is like operational, in which they're just not doing things correctly operationally. Or it could just be we already have a lot of their customers and we don't offer their services. So our people go in and cross-sell. But yeah, typically we assume the company we buy, because we buy 100%, that person isn't going to stay on forever. So there usually is a transition plan. Now, we've done some deals where we, of course, would like to keep the person on as long as possible. And in those cases, we'll promote them, push them, help build their brand, give them some sort of compensation outside of just cash that makes them want to stick around. And yeah, we try to promote them and help them and, focus on getting them to achieve their personal goals, whatever they may be.
Do you ever acquire businesses on a short term? I'm going to acquire this. I'm going to bump it, like bump the traffic, get more, improve the MRR, and I've got a 3-year plan, and then I'm going to flip it. It's always long term to stick hold and keep hold of.
It's basic math for us. So let's say, I'll give you a great UK example. So there's this company called Answer the Public. We bought for $8.6 million. They didn't have tons of revenue. I don't know what the revenue was, maybe 130, 140 grand a month in USD. I'm roughly estimating. And they were saying their profit was pretty much like 120 of it. They're in essence are 100 grand. They were saying we have no expenses other than servers. But in reality, you have accounting, you have HR, you have support, but they didn't have any of these roles. So their profit was really inflated because anyone who bought it, well, you're going to get customers emailing you and some of them may not be happy or they may want a refund. You already have additional expenses. Their real profit was probably closer to $600,000 a year, maybe 700 max. So we paid more than 10 times for that business, maybe 12, 13, however you want to do the math, depending on the number you use. So we overpaid for the business. Within 6 months of working on the business, and I say 6 months of working because our team was busy. So for the first 6 months of buying the business, it just sat there, okay? But within 6 months of buying the business, 6 months of working on the business, sorry, not buying, but the first 6 months business sat there. The next 6 months, we actually had time to work on it. And we knew buying it, we overpaid, and we knew we didn't have time to deal with it within the first 6 months. And in the second 6 months, and this is where we actually spent time, we were able to grow the real profit because we had to add people. So our expenses ballooned up. We're able to grow the real profit, call it closer to 250 grand a month. I'm rounding because it's pounds to USD, but let's call it $3 million a year, right? If I'm at 3 million and I bought it for 8.6 USD, my payback period is less than 3 years. Now, there's more ways we knew that we could grow it after that initial 6 months of spending time on it, right? Not the first 6 months. I'm talking about the second 6 months we actually worked on the business. We knew we could take it from, call it 3 million in profit to eventually 5 and 6. And we knew the roadmap that we needed to implement to do it because we've already done it. And we don't really look at revenue. We really care for profit, right? It's what did you buy something for? What does it spit off in free cash flow each and every single year? And then the team started implementing those things, and then we started seeing more and more growth. But when we look at it from a basic standpoint, when we ran the numbers on our end, we knew we could easily get it to 3 million in profit. And we knew that if we didn't have the time to spend on that business anymore, we knew that wasn't the case, but we look at it from a conservative outlook. You're making, call it 33% plus on your money. And we knew there was potential to easily make 40, 50, 60 plus percent, 70%, etc. on our money per year. So we took it because we're like, worst case, we'll make a 33% return on our cash if we're shot for time and we want to move the team to other resources where we feel there may be a better ROI. And it's just a basic equation, better than the S&P. Yes, we could sell it, but then we got to reallocate the money. And we don't want to reallocate. We rather just take our, 33% return. Although at this point, we've grown the EBITDA more, so our returns are much higher than that. So we look at it as just great cash flowing business, and we don't really care about the multiple we'll get on the exit.
Do you ever using Answer the Public as being an example? Obviously, there were so many users in there that was on the free plan as well. Do you look at that as well and say, like, wow, there's so much more potential or cross-sells I can do for all these non-paying customers as well, which obviously they're not sat on the balance sheet as being profitable for you, but the amount of emails that you can catch from there, you can then maybe cross-sell into NP Digital or whatever other products and services that you sell.
We do, but we don't put that into the financial equation. We look at that as gravy. That's all extra on top. Yeah. And we close customers from Answer the Public each month. For example, I just got my September numbers for the business. Okay. So, and they're rough. They'll be finalized by the 15th. So they give us flash numbers. Our accounting gives us flash numbers of how we did the previous month, usually within 10 days of the next month. And then within 15 to 20 days of the next month, we have finalized numbers of, the exact profit and losses to the penny. We closed a client from Answer the Public last month that paid us $900 and something thousand annually. Now that revenue, we don't count towards Answer the Public. That profit, we don't count towards Answer the Public. That goes into our NPD agency. And that account, they have 2 other divisions that we think we can land within the next 6 months, also at 900 and change each, right? So we look at that as all gravy and ways to make more money from the business. But because it's a different division, dealing with the revenue, servicing it, etc., we don't add those numbers to the Answer the Public books. But for us, that's all added bonuses, and we do take that into account. That was one of the factors on why we were also willing to pay such a high premium for the business.
Yeah, that's class. Because like you said, I get what you're saying. It's not sat there and it is extra, like you call it gravy, but there's a value to it, if you get what I mean. Like that value of having that data is key. So obviously that's where you're knowing that you're going to leverage that further down the line, which makes it a great deal. Where if you just sat down and says, "Oh, I paid 10 years multiplier for Answer the Public," you'll be like, "Well, you know you're going to grow it," which I suppose that's just because you know how to grow it, but you've actually got the data as well, which is key.
And before we bought the business, we asked them for all the accounts they sign up each month and the names. And then we go through and we look at what portion of their accounts that are signing up are clients that we can pitch. Then we look at the type of businesses and the names and the individuals and their job titles of these accounts that are signing up. And are they the decision makers of the people that we can sell into? So we back-ended out before we even bought the business that we knew we can make our money back just selling consulting services to their customers. And it would be a pretty quick payback period because they just had so many users signing up on a monthly basis. But again, that goes into the equation on buying a business. But typically we need to generate profitability from their main business and pay it back. The rest should just be gravy for us. Because not everything works out in a deal, right? Some things work, some things don't. So if you have a few avenues, eventually something's going to work and you'll make back your money.
Sorry for
Sure.
for all the questions. I'll let you get back.
All right. It's all right. Thank you for co-hosting with me. Amazing.
I do have one question.
Sure.
So
Go on,
when you're looking to acquire, like whether it's like a new SaaS or just a new business in general, are you only looking at things that can feed into NP Digital, or are you looking at brick and mortar style businesses as well?
No, only things that feed into our ecosystem at NP Digital. And we have a corp dev department that just deals with bankers. So we get inbound requests. We send out also 40 to 50 emails a day on the work day. So call it 200 emails a day to people that we think are potential targets. And then our team screens calls, and builds relationships. And we try to do at least one deal a quarter. So we're roughly looking at 4 deals a year. And then we pick when we want to announce them. So like, for example, one of our deals we closed last November and we announced it, I think February or March of this year, right? So sometimes we'll wait 5 months, 6 months to announce a deal. Sometimes we'll announce it within a month. We just pick and choose. Sometimes we don't announce it at all. It really just depends on the business and the fit. And can the press help us generate more revenue? Or will the press just create more competition and we're better off just keeping our mouths shut and just making our money, right? So we evaluate all those kind of things, and it's a numbers game of how many deals can we do and integrate. This year has been a slow year for us. I think we'll probably only get done 2 deals this year. Next year, my guess is we'll have like 6 or 7 because our pipe is pretty strong. And we'll have a lot of bleed over from the deals that should have closed this year that'll close next year. So we already know some of the deals that are closed next year. The problem is on some of these businesses, as you guys know, the economy is bad. So we're buying based on trailing 12 months. And some of these people are like, well, no, at the end of 2024, my numbers are going to get much better because the economy is bad. So some of these people are missing numbers and forecasts. And they're like, no, we want to wait till we end up finishing the year. And then we'll base it off of those numbers because we know, we had 1 or 2 bad months, which are skewing our numbers. We're going to make it up in the next few months. So you can't force people to just say, hey, you got to close on this date. It's up to them if they want to drag it out and push it out. And we've seen a lot this year. I think we probably have 5 or 6 businesses that we're trying to close on, but they'll close on over the next 12 months based on, people's timetables. And then over the next 12 months, we'll also have new businesses that are in the pipe and LOI. And as I mentioned, well, the economy's bad and some people just miss numbers. So they want to adjust the timetable on when they sell to you.
How involved do you get in the investment and choosing the investment of the companies to purchase versus the day-to-day running of, let's say, SEO and keeping up to date with SEO best practices and stuff like that?
Neither on both. I spend a lot of my time on evangelism, strategy, client calls, client meetings, sales pitches. We're in, I think, 19 or 20 countries. So then, I'm not on every client call. I'm not on every sales pitch, but we pick and choose. The corp dev team sends the deal opportunities to us. I look at them once, it's been vetted and just approve on the finance end to make sure I'm okay with it. A great example of this, in June, we closed on a deal called Search Guru. We talked to that business almost for a year before we bought them. They were based in Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia. So it gave us more regional reach in APAC for our customers. And they had good brands. They still do, like Domino's and Reebok and Grab, which is like a Uber for Southeast Asia. Signia, a big insurance company, L'Oreal, the list goes on and on of marquee brands, Subway, etc. And, I talked to the founders a few times, never met them, closed on the deal in June. I got back from that trip maybe last week. It all blends in. I travel almost every single week. I got back last week, and last week was the first time I met one of the two co-founders, and I met the team for the first time in person. But we already closed on the deal and paid them all their money and everything like that. On the flip side, we did a deal that closed last year in November. It was a creative shop. Never talked to the founder during that whole process. And I think sometime in December, I met the founder. She flew to Los Angeles. I think she had some meetings or something like that. And I met her for the first time and talked to her. And I was like, oh, how's your company going? And all this kind of stuff. And she kept correcting me. She's like, it's your company now. I'm like, oh, yeah, my bad. And, but yeah, met her for the first time in person after the transaction was over and first time talking to her. But that's gone well, and I've talked to her many times since. Met her a few times in person, as we're doing events and stuff in different locations. But yeah.
Cool. Before any of you ask more questions, we have a question from the chat. Nice. And if we manage to do it, there's also a question from Facebook. So let's go with this first. Jack of all, or master of one? With a follow-up question here, and how much time one must wait as opposed to chasing immediate gratification and blowing in every direction. Question from Paradox. So, jack of all or master of one? Which one's better, more profitable?
I think that probably comes down to like hiring. So like I see that as if, say, for example, you're really good at SEO, but you are shockingly bad at Facebook ads or PPC or website development, just go and hire. Stick in your lane, and then whatever you're weak at, go and hire the best person to help you out on that.
So find the right people to delegate.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think people think that with regards to when they're saying jack of all trades or master of one, like you have to choose just SEO or PPC. Like generally speaking, you choose digital marketing or marketing in general, not even just digital marketing. And we're very, very good between us all in here, growing businesses and generating more leads. Everything, like I said, flows downstream from lead generation. The more leads you get, the more you can then start to test your funnels out, your upsells, your downsells, your cross sells. Whether that's run via social media, billboards, whatever way, shape, or form that it is. And then as long as the business itself that you're plugging the leads into know how to convert and they're selling a good service and whatever it is that like the traction there of keeping clients is good, then you can go into many different industries, but you're still doing the same thing over and over. Just rinse and repeat using the same staff who are brilliant in their lane. And not only about staffing, it can be business partners as well. Like if you're very weak at something and your business and you find someone who's very good at what you're very weak at, and then you can team up together. I mean, mine's very different to Neil's. Neil buys 100% of businesses. Like he said, generally speaking, if I'm acquiring a business, part of the reason why I'm acquiring that business is because I want the business partner to be helping me grow that business together. So for that reason, I'm investing in people, not just the business.
Oh, thank you for your answers. The next question is curious one. How much do you all spend monthly outside of business?
Very little,
That's the question.
other than family. I just mainly work all the time.
Neil, you've got private jets. Come on, I want honest answers here. How much do you spend on private jets and stuff?
Oh, you're saying how much do I spend money-wise?
Spend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. So, my property tax and stuff are quite high here in the States, but I don't really have mortgages and stuff. I don't know, monthly bills, it's gonna sound bad. Maybe 200-300 grand a month.
Is that including like travel and stuff like that as well? Yeah.
Not corporate travel, no.
Right.
I have no idea. My credit card bills are almost 100 grand a month. I don't know what's 100 grand a month in my credit card bills. A lot of meals, like if I go out with friends and stuff like that, a lot of restaurant bills that are like 1,000, 2,000. A lot of meetings on those bills. I just personally charge them. I don't really expense them. But it's not even the meals. I don't know what the biggest expense is. I haven't really dove down. It just costs money to live. I don't understand. I would say property tax on the homes alone. I think I'm at and homeowners association between all our homes. That probably alone is $40,000-$50,000 a month. And then house staff is probably another 50,000 a month. Cooks, cleaners, nannies, drivers, etc. So I'm just rounding. You probably have 100 right there. And then credit card is probably another 100 and probably another 50 for miscellaneous on I don't know what.
All right. What about you guys?
I'm at peasant numbers in comparison to that.
No. You're at smarter numbers. Mine are terrible.
So, like, I'll give you an example. I flew out to Philippines last month, and getting there and back, like, I don't like economy class. I think there and back was probably about 4K. Probably spent about 2.5 on hotels and just eating and stuff like that. I don't have the private jet like Neil, but yeah, that's like a if I'm traveling to Southeast Asia style month. If I'm just at my house, like I barely even leave my house, so I don't know, like £10.
I could spend a lot more, but I'll be honest, like I'm very minimalistic. You won't see me with no watches, no jewelry, no tattoos, no nothing. Like I like a minimalistic kind of life. I've got amazing family. They spend all my money. My family, my kids and my family spend all my. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've spent a little bit on racehorses and stuff like that. I put a few million into that, I'm not going to get any return on it. It's just there for the memories and the experiences. But I don't really log day to day of what I spend. But I'm nowhere near Neil's numbers, and I don't really. I like a nice steak. I like going for a nice meal. I'm not gonna turn around and start looking at the menu, going, "Oh, I can't afford that" or anything like that. But like generally speaking, if it's a good memory and a good experience, I'll spend some good money on it. If it's materials, I don't really spend much money on it.
See, for me, I can live off of less than 10 grand a month. I travel all the time, so I don't have to pay those expenses like travel, hotels, because it's all business expense. It's the family part that adds up. Because I'm barely home. I may be home 5 days a month. It's like there's not that many expenses when you're home for 5 days. There's no shopping. When you're traveling, you're just working and in meetings. But it's the family stuff that adds up.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thank you guys for your answers to the last question of this session. Was a great time listening to you. I was barely talking. James, thanks again for co-hosting with me. Either way, thank you for taking the time and joining and sharing your thoughts and experiences and ideas as well. Just before we wrap this up, I would like to mention that we at Odys have an ongoing promo with Conversion Collective. You can go ahead and visit our website, odys.global. You'll see a pop-up banner, but in a nutshell, you get a domain or domains, or just deposit at least $2,500 to your Odys wallet, and we'll sponsor your Conversion Collective membership for 1 year, where you'll get tons of educational and practical stuff, actually. And James has definitely been doing some Q&A. I think, was it Q&A with them?
Yeah.
It's like live Q&A, when you can just blast the guest, the expert, with whatever questions you have and learn from them right there on the go, basically in person. And yeah, a lot of courses, masterminds based on your specialty and interest. What else? There's a lot of free tools too. So yeah, just go ahead and check out Conversion Collective and take advantage of this deal, because it's going to run until the end of October, and the spots are limited to just 50 of them, and we've already got 47 or 46, I think, not sure. So take advantage of that. All right, guys, once again, thanks for doing this. Thanks for joining, Neil. To you especially, because you're traveling, very busy man.
Good meeting all of you.
Whereabouts in the country are you, Neil?
I'm in Los Angeles. I head to Dubai, I think, in a few days, and then from there I go to Hong Kong, and then Park City, and then Canada.
Oh,
good.
That's,
private jet.
That's in one.
No,
that's in 1 week,
commercial,
right?
Commercial.
All right.
Yeah, Los Angeles to Dubai is a very expensive private flight.
I know, yeah. Someone told me you flew everywhere private jet.
No. That would probably be like $300,000-$400,000.
Yeah.
On the flip side, Emirates first class was paid for by the company I'm going to, so it didn't cost me $1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
good.
Awesome.
Well, it's been a pleasure anyway. Good seeing you, Neil.
Take care, everyone.
Cheers.
See ya.
See you around.